will this be the first? Yeah, this is the first time.
We're getting a little better now. At least yesterday and today we got good megabytes per second. It needs to be about 3.8 to 4.2. Anything less is defective.
Well, I think, optimistic, and your tie matches your slide.
Oh yeah. I just saw that late last night. Someone sent it. It's like basically like a mega Shabbat dinner that people are having at a lot of like houses.
Oh, that's really cool.
So there we go. Water. And off we go. Joy, right?
Joy.
Welcome and Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Great to have you here in our sanctuary. And hopefully all of you at home, you're getting a clear signal. Bruchim Habaim, welcome and Shabbat Shalom to those of you watching at home or wherever you are. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger, joined by our soloists on the bima, Allison Rosoff, and down at the piano, sporting a very nice outfit and hat, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. This evening, as you'll see in the slide, across North America, thousands of Jews are participating in what's called a Shabbat of Love, inspired by the hospitality of biblical Abraham and Sarah. The goal is to welcome Jews as well as non-Jews of all ages, backgrounds, and identities to share the beauty of Shabbat. Many people are having communal Shabbat dinners, either at sanctuaries or at homes in many locations, or coming to service as we are today. May it be a time that we celebrate Jewish light as well as love. Our opening song is going to be Yidid Nefesh, Hearts to Light. If you turn to page 10 in your prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, there you'll find these words. Yidid Nefesh, Avarakaman, Avarakaman, Mishok Avdecha, El Retzonecha, El Retzonecha. Yidid Nefesh, Avarakaman, Avarakaman, Mishok Avdecha, El Retzonecha, El Retzonecha. Yarutz Avdecha, Kirmoaya, Yishakave, El Mulatarecha. Yidid Nefesh, Avarakaman, Avarakaman, Mishok Avdecha, El Retzonecha, El Retzonecha. This time I'd like to invite any ladies who'd like to come up to the bima and help us light the Shabbat candles. The blessing you'll find on page 2, and we'll be singing Debbie Friedman's light these lights that you'll find right on the screen.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh,
Hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
So all say Yasher Koach, well done. All of you, thank you for helping us light the Shabbat candles, and good Shabbos. It is growing. Please join me in a special prayer for Israel as our heart turns to the east and the Holy Land. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. May you bless the soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces and all who stand guard to protect our people. Shield them from all troubles and injury. Help them secure freedom without loss of life for all those held captive by the enemy. May they have strength and courage of heart. Please join us as we say, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel lives. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 O Davinu Chai, O Davinu Chai. O Davinu, O Davinu, O Davinu Chai. O Davinu Chai, O Davinu Chai. O Davinu, O Davinu, O Davinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Now we're going to welcome the Shabbat Malachim, the messengers and angels in our lives, by singing Shalom Aleichem, which is found on page 24. Peace be to you.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachi HaSharet, Malachi Elyon. Shalom, Shalom. Mi Melech, Malachi HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Shalom. Boachem l'shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon. Shalom, Shalom. Mi Melech, Malachi HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Shalom. Peace be upon you, angels divine. Shabbat Shalom Shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon. Shalom, Shalom. Mi Melech, Malachi HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Shalom. Tzeitzkem l'shalom, Malachi HaShalom, Malachi Elyon. Shalom, Shalom. Mi Melech, Malachi HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu. Oh, Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, 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 shalom.
Making our way to Shema and its blessings, let's read the Chatzi Kaddish, the half words of praise that you'll find on 26.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah B'yamad yivrach yutei v'yamlit malchutei B'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei de kol beit Yisrael Ba'gala ba'gala u'v'zman kariv v'imaru amen Yishmei Rabba mevarach le'alam ul'amei amaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitmaman v'yitnasei v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shmei dekudesha brichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'ama v'imaru amen.
Let's rise now, turning to page 28, where we'll find the words of the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, this arrangement by our own Eve Goldstein. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamivorach Baruch Adonai Hamivorach Leolam Vaed. Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Praise Adonai, the Holy One. Baruch Hu et Adonai Let's continue reading together a prayer for creation on the top of 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv, Aravim. And words of love on this Shabbat of love, found in the middle of 33, Ahavat Olam. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo. Sing, open up our eyes.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live.
Teach us how to live.
Fill our hearts with joy
and all the love you have to give.
Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one, and we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivot Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Feel free to be seated. We'll continue these words found in the book of Deuteronomy with You Shall Love Adonai Your God, page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzvah hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha bebetecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shokbecha uvkumecha Ukshartam leot ayadecha, vehayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, vasitem ekol mitzvotai, V'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. On page 39, you'll find words of truth and faith and redeeming the Israelites from slavery. Please join me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught wherever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. We'll sing Who is Like You, Mi Chamocha. Prayer of protection for the evening. The words of Hashkivenu are found on page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. Ve'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha, uvros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us between thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right.
Let's rise for the prayers of the Tefillah, which begin on page 46 as we ask God to open our lips in prayer.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agir tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula livnei vneihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach, Umarit HaGashem, Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Nofim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mochab al Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Meimit Mechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Hatalech HaChayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom v'haruch ha'selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
Feel free to be seated as we continue with the Emsaot, blessings 4, 5, and 6 of the Shabbat evening tefillah. First, on page 55, a prayer for the holiness of this day. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat, and words of avodah, the Hebrew word for prayer, asking that God's presence will always be with us here as well as for those in Israel. Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato letzion. And we'll share words of gratitude called Hoda'ah on page 59. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha uchana'eh lechodot. And finally, Birkat Shalom, our prayer of peace, is found on page 60. Grant abundant peace in Israel forever, for you're the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. And for our time of reflection, turning to page 62, the words of Oseh Shalom.
Say shalom b'mromav,
Say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Let's now turn to prayer of healing, Mishaberach, God the one who blesses those who need strength, courage, and healing. You'll find these words on page 253 as we call to mind and to heart those who are in need of strength and healing. Joanne Beeman Fiddleman, Yonatan Ruven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Norma Bloomberg Van Ness, Babs Brown, Tina Bruns, Marie D'Alessandro, Norman Fiddleman, Sue Fischelo, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, David Friedlander, Betsy Garfield, Ivan Gorelick, Maya Herman, Jim Howard, Kathy Howard, Elias Kalinokos, Anna Kelton Brand, Rabbi David Levin, Nick Martin, Misty Neff, Kim Nichols, Ken Mercero, Michael Ranzino, Stephanie Ross, Carol Spani, Jean Spani, Dennis Schulman, Angie Sermenis, and Jeff Stark. If there are any other names you'd like to add, feel free.
My Father George Stark.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mikor habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Mishaberach imotenu mikol habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah lema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Amen.
In 1904, a 6-year-old boy named Jacob, he was probably called Yaakov, was walking on a sidewalk in Harlem when he heard the sound of a player piano, which stopped him in his tracks. The piano was belting out Russian composer Anton Rubinstein's composition called Melody in F. Jacob loved the sound of it. About 6 years later, Jacob's parents brought home a piano, which was intended for his older brother by 2 years, Israel. But within moments, Jacob took a seat on the piano bench and began tickling the ivories. As it turned out, Jacob had been playing the piano for a while at a friend's house. And it soon became clear that he, rather than his older brother Israel, was the musician. So lessons were arranged with a local teacher. Jacob indeed was blessed with great talent, which he put to use even in his early teenage years, banging the keys on Tin Pan Alley. While Jacob was never one for academics, His brother Israel, on the other hand, loved to read and was a gifted writer. Even in elementary school, he was creative and made newsletters that he printed himself, filled with jokes, poems, wordplay, and lyrics. By the time he was in high school, Israel's witticism and light verse were being published in local newspapers. In time, the world would come to know Jacob and Israel as George and Ira Gershwin, two Jewish brothers who literally took the musical world by storm and whose widely popular compositions spanned popular, classical, and jazz music. I'll ask our tech team to put a picture of them. You'll see George is on the left, and his older brother Ira, with the glasses, is on the right. Now, one of their best-known collaborations, and they wrote together for many, many years, was the opera called Porgy and Bess, written in 1935. Initially, it received a lackluster response. It lasted only 120 performances and was considered a financial failure. In time, though, the opera has come to be considered one of the great American compositions, in large part because of its artful mix of popular and classical elements and the Gershwins' ability to dramatically express important themes in American life. But there was one song of the opera in particular that was considered very controversial, and it was "It Ain't Necessarily So," sung by a dapper and tap-dancing troublemaker named Sportin' Life. It's a cynical and irreverent take on biblical stories, which he gleefully shared with a group of quite religious picnickers on Kidawah Island who were horrified by his idea that the accounts in the Bible weren't necessarily so. The song is special for two reasons. First, if you listen to the musical motif, you'll find that the jazzy refrain, "It ain't necessarily so," happens to match perfectly with the opening phrase of the Aliyah or Torah blessing. I'll ask our tech team to display the notes right on the screen. "It ain't necessarily so, Baruch Adonai Hamvorah." It's pretty clear. Means bless God who is blessed. It's an interesting connection, but understandable, given that George and Ira went to synagogue, at least when they were younger, and they were familiar with the Torah blessings from their youth. And the second and far more important reason the song is special because it speaks to an age-old question, one which, as a rabbi, I'm telling you, I've been asked countless times, especially in the weeks leading up to Passover, the Festival of Freedom. Namely, the question, did the stories in the Bible really happen? In other words, are they true? When it comes down to it, most people asking this question are looking for a quick, on-one-foot answer, to which I usually reply something like, well, there's actually not a whole lot of evidence that 1 million+ Jews were traipsing across the Sinai Desert. Just a couple of letters written between two Egyptian slave owners talking about Ivri, or Israelite slaves. But the story of the Exodus teaches us volumes about resiliency, hope, and human freedom. To this day, I remember the exact moment that I learned about the lack of archaeological evidence surrounding the Exodus. It was in my second year Bible studies class in rabbinical school. The professor, at least to my mind, seemed to share the information with a bit of glee. A number of us rabbis in training were shocked by this lack of evidence. It threw many of us for a loop. One student even dropped out of the class and took it the next year. To be sure, it wasn't something that my teachers way back in religious school ever shared with me. Perhaps they weren't even aware of it. And my rabbi, at least my home rabbi, certainly didn't bring it up during any of our congregational seders. Yet the Exodus is the foundational narrative of the Jewish people. In the Haggadah, telling the tale, we sing Avadim Hayinu Ata B'nei Chorim, which means once we were slaves and now we are free. Our Torah then painstakingly records every single step of the way to the promised land of Israel, beginning with this week's Torah portion, which is called Bo, or Go, as God was telling Moses and Aaron, go to Pharaoh. I'll ask our tech team to put up an image of the various possible routes that the Israelites took through the Sinai desert. Every year during the Seder, we tell and reenact this story, even though most modern biblical archaeologists concludes that the Exodus likely didn't happen the way it was described in the Torah. Some believe it might not have happened at all. Back in 2001, a rabbi named David Wolpe shared this revelation with his large conservative congregation on the West Coast. To no surprise, a lot of his congregants were taken aback. Now, on its own, these 3 sermons describing this probably wouldn't have caused anything more than a ripple. But when the Los Angeles Times ran a front-page article on biblical archaeology called Doubting the Story of Exodus, which noted Rabbi Wolpe's sermons, it caused a big uproar. The fact of the matter is that millions of Jews most likely have doubts about the veracity of biblical stories, even though the account of Moses rediscovering his roots and leading the Israelites to freedom has served as sacred scripture for 3 world religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, in most Jewish circles, this type of questioning is permissible, though I wouldn't necessarily share such an opinion visiting an Orthodox shul at their oneg after services. Centuries ago, harboring such doubts was considered blasphemy. Keep in mind that the 17th century philosopher Baruch Spinoza was excommunicated from his Sephardic Portuguese Jewish community in Amsterdam. Why? Because he rejected the Mosaic authorship of the Torah. And mind you, he didn't say anything regarding whether or not he believed that the stories of the Bible were true. Thankfully, we live in a different era. Yet, if foundational stories like the Exodus can't be verified by any archaeological evidence, why would Jews create such a story? The Israeli historian and diplomat Eli Barnavi offers the following insight. He said it's highly improbable that a nation would choose to invent for itself a history of slavery as an explanation for its origins, which to me seems quite on point. At the end of the day, some of us question the Bible, and that's okay, while others simply rely on faith. That's okay too. But even if the details of biblical stories aren't exactly factual, the meaning of the Exodus has been personally relevant for countless individuals and groups. For colonists during the American Revolution, for African American slaves in the South leading up to the Civil War, for Jews fleeing the Nazis during World War II, for the Civil Rights Movement in the 60s, and for the women's equality movement in the 60s and 70s. Now, all of us, at one point or another, have likely struggled with our version of what happened to the Israelites in Egypt. Even the Hebrew word for the country speaks to this. It's called Mitzrayim, meaning a place of narrowness that the Jews had to escape from. So regardless of whether the story is true or verifiable, the Exodus can inspire us to break free from personal challenges. Maybe we're dealing with a family member or friend who causes some difficulties. Maybe we're battling addictions of some kind or another. Perhaps we're doing our best to re-engage with the world after a precious loved one passes away. At the end of the day, whether the wisdom and stories of the Bible are necessarily so or ain't necessarily so is beside the point. Our faith shouldn't rely exclusively on whether the Red Sea parted exactly when Moses raised his staff on God's command. Rather, it should speak to the spiritual truths of our people, maintaining a sense of hope, even if the world seems upside down, being resilient, especially when the going gets tough, and using the gift and blessing of freedom and liberty for good. These are the truths that matter most. Just as George and Ira Gershwin's musical compositions and lyrical verse thrill music lovers to this day, may the stories of the Bible, like the Exodus, continue to capture our attention and inspire us, whether we wondered if they ever happened or we simply take things on faith. At least to my mind, there's plenty of room in the world for all of us. We're going to continue with the Aleinu, the adoration that you'll find on page 282. I'd like to invite any gentlemen who'd like to come forward to help open the ark. Just started doing that last week. Any guys want to come forward? No pressure. But let's rise for Bill again. Yes. We always need that first nachshon. You know, the first person who dipped his or her foot into the Red Sea.
Aleinu l'shabech la'adon ha'kol, l'tei gedula le'otzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu kemishbechot ha'adama, shelo sam kelkeinu kahem, ve'gor
I'll just put this out there for the universe and for your consumption. When the ladies came up, there was a plethora of ladies who came up for the lighting of the candles. So just think about that the next time we get to the Aleinu. We need more brave nachshons, the dippers of the toes into the water to join us on the bima to open that ark. We're going to continue with the Mourner's Kaddish, Kaddish Tome, found on page 294, as we call to mind and to heart families in the period of Shloshim, first 30 days mourning a loved one. As we fondly remember Penelope Meza, sister of Richard Meza and Toby Nassiter, mother of Linda Roberts. And we mark the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones. On this Shabbat, we remember Dorothy Altman, Lillian Bandes, Mary Bahar, Corporal Albert Al Bloomberg, David Borrell, Robert Edelman, Stanley Frankman, Maynard Friedman, Scott Friedman, Irving Grant, David Harris, Rebecca Hirschman, Jennifer Conda, Lori Landis, Arthur Lieberman, Alan Lieberman, William Manis, Celia Markowitz, Sarah Masarski, Nettie Moffison, Melvin Myers, Hilda Pascal, Edward Rose, Rita Rose, Hal Rosenberg, Minerva Rothbart, Shirley Rusoff, Leonard Samuels, Mildred Skulnick, Vivian Schneider, Jenny Secundi, Rosalind Stein, Colonel Clayton Lee Van Ness, Edith Weiss, Sarah Deinhardt Weibel, and Paul Zielinski. Are there any other names to add for Yahrzeit? We say, Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of these good people continue to be a blessing in their loved ones' lives as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise. Yikadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivrach v'yirteviam lich malchuteh, v'chayikon v'yomechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman karivi imru,
Amen.
Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam ulamei almayah, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalev, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekudashah B'richu, Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Da'amiran v'yoma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. O say shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. The one who causes peace in the heavens, cause peace to descend on us, Israel, Ukraine, and throughout the world, as we say, Amen.
V'imiru, 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 Amen. V'imiru, 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 Amen.
Feel free to be seated. You'll find the words to the Shabbat Kiddush blessing over the fruit of the vine on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei b'riah gafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzav banu v'shabbat kodsho v'avahu v'ratzon inhilanu zikaron le'maseh v'reshit ki hu yom tehilah l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ivanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ava uvratzon inaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Chaim to life. All right, any kids or teens who'd like to join me on the bima for the hermetically sealed challah, along with its blessing? You're welcome. They do look good. And join us in the blessing. Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Tevon, enjoy. Pleasure to call forward to the Bima David Bill, representing the leadership of our congregation. He'll be sharing some important Shabbat and upcoming announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Many thanks to Rabbi Matt, Allison, and Joy for this beautiful service. Along with our tech team, Bruce, Saul, and our greeters, Gary, and Joan, and Phoebe. Join us tomorrow as Ron Gilbert leads our Shabbat service at 9 a.m. in the library. Our next Kids Shabbat, celebrating our To Be Shabbat. The new year for the trees will take place Friday, January 26th at 5:30 p.m. with food, crafts, and song. Our book club will be meeting on January 28th at 9:30, and the religious school will be hosting a congregational Tu B'Shabbat Seder on Sunday, January 28th at 11:30. All are welcome, obviously. Our annual fundraiser will be taking place on Monday, February 5th at 7:30 p.m. Our guest speaker, Dr. Aram, I'm going to mess this up, Rombrowski, will explore the rise of anti-Semitism on college campuses, something that affects many of us, especially my family. Tickets are available now. During Friday's services on February 9th, Major Oren Havetz, who serves with the IDF and now works for the Jewish National Fund, will be speaking. After services, please join us for the Oneg Shabbat in the social hall. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, David. So in the Devar Torah, the words I shared with you, we talked a lot, or I talked a lot about stories, and we're going to conclude with a really great song which kind of talks about the trajectory of Moses from birth all the way to leading the people to the Promised Land. A lot of words, but a very, very catchy melody, which at least you'll be able to pick up the chorus in short order. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Yocheved gave birth to a strong baby boy and hides him as he starts to thrive. Soon she has a plan to put him in the river Nile, the only way to stay alive. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Miriam, his sister, loved her baby brother dear. She helps her mother with his care. And when the boy is placed in a basket in the Nile, she hides herself and he found there. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Pharaoh's daughter finds a basket floating in the Nile. She knows it is a Hebrew boy. Miriam brings her mother in to suckle the child. Now Yocheved holds her pride and joy. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Moses grew to lead the people to the promised land. God had chosen him to set them free. Without the love and courage of the women of the Nile, it would have changed the course of history. Last time, baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Baby Moses in the basket on the river. Baby Moses in the basket on the river Nile. Shabbat Shalom one and all. Good night for those who are watching at home, and for those here in the sanctuary, please join us for an oneg in the social hall.